This is the final video in the series of videos about Word 2013 Unit C, in which we're going to be talking about inserting online pictures. Now, clip art is a collection of graphic images that you can insert into a document. Office.com clip art images are royalty-free photos and illustrations that you can add to a document using the Online Pictures command on the Insert tab. Once you insert a clip art image, you can wrap text around it, resize it, enhance it, and move it to a different location. Now, this is one of the newer features in 2013. It's changed a little bit from the previous versions on there, in which you could generally just go ahead and click on Insert and Clip Art to get to your clip art. Take notice of these changes that's on here as we go through the steps. On step 1, it tells us that we want to scroll to the top of page 2. So we're going to scroll down until we get to the top of page 2 here, and we're going to place the insertion point before Inca Highlands Explorer. So there's our insertion point there. And then next we're going to click on the Insert tab. Then we're going to click on Online Pictures, and this is where you're going to find your clip art at. And of course the Insert Pictures window will open. And this is where you're going to use the Office.com to search for images related to a keyword. In step 2, it tells us that we want to type in Machu Picchu in the Office.com clip art, which that is up here at the top. Now, of course, one thing you need to remember is that your computer needs to be connected to or have an active internet connection to be able to follow these steps. Now, if the picture that we choose on here is not available at this time period, feel free to choose something that is pretty close for that as well. So like I said, on step 2, it tells us that we want to type in Machu Picchu in the Office.com clip art text box, and we're going to press Enter. And of course, it's going to search through, and it's going to find some clip art for Machu Picchu. Now, on step 3, it tells us that we want to click on some clip art. Now, the clip art, like we said, may not be identical to the ones that you might see in the textbook, so we're going to choose something that is pretty close. And in this case, we'll choose this first one on here, and we're going to select that. When we click on this, that's going to select it, and then we can click on Insert. And then, of course, now the clip is inserted at the location of the insertion point. When a graphic is selected, the Active tab changes to the Picture Tools format, which you'll see right over here. And this tab contains commands used to adjust, enhance, arrange, and size graphics. The white squares that we see here that appear around the square edges of the graphic are what we call sizing handles, and that allows us to resize the image. Now, of course, once again, like I said, if you cannot find this image or the one that's similar to the textbook, you can always choose one that is very similar, or you can also use some additional keywords. Like, for an example, maybe we could choose the word Peru, and that may have a image similar to this as well. In step 4, we want to type 2 in the Shape Height text box. So we're going to go over here, and that's in the Size group on the Picture Tools Format tab. So right now the height is 1.44 inches, but we're just going to select 2. And of course, when we do that and we press our Enter key, the size of the graphic is going to be, in our case, enlarged. Now, the one out of the textbook, it was going to be reduced. Now, when you decrease or increase the height of the graphic, the width is going to be increased or decreased proportionally. So it's going to keep its same proportions on there. So if it's taller than it is wide, it's still always going to be taller than it is wide whenever you make a height or width adjustment. Now, you can also resize a graphic proportionally by dragging a corner sizing handle. Now, until you apply the text wrapping to a graphic, it is part of the line of text which is inserted, and that is what we call an inline graphic. Now, when we want to move this graphic independently of text, we need to make it a floating graphic so we can put it anywhere on the page that we'd like to. On step 5, it tells us that we want to click on the position button in the Arrange group. So here's our Arrange group, and we're going to click on this position button here. And this tells us all the different positionings that we could have. Of course, we can always go to the more layout options if we had to. But in this case, we're going to click on the position in middle center with square text wrapping. And that is this one right here, right in the middle of the with text wrapping. And that is position in middle center with square text wrapping. When we click on that, the graphic is moved to the middle of the page. So I'll scroll down, you can see that there's the graphic that's been moved to the middle of the page. And of course all the text has been wrapped around it. Applying text wrapping to the graphic made it a floating graphic. And a floating graphic can be moved anywhere on a page. You can also wrap text around a graphic using the Layout Options button, which that is underneath the Position group if you want to try to find that. That would be here, and there's where you can find the more layout options. Now, of course, to position a graphic using precise measurements, you may need to click the Position button and the more layout options, and then adjust the settings on the Position tab in the Layout dialog box. Step 6 tells us that we want to scroll up until the Inca Highlands Explorer heading is at the top of our screen once again. When we do this, we're going to position the pointer over the graphic. And of course the pointer will now change to a four-headed arrow with a mouse pointer on it. And we're going to drag this graphic up and to the left so that it aligns with the left margin and the top of the paragraph under the Inca Highlands Explorer heading. So we're going to click on this and we're going to drag it right up here, just so that it appears to be like this. When it looks like this, we're going to release our mouse button, and you'll notice that the graphic is moved to the upper left corner of the page. Now you'll probably notice that as we clicked on this, that there was these green lines that are there, and those are green alignment guides. And of course sometimes those may appear to help you out to align the image with the margin. So if you're moving it over a little bit, sometimes those lines will appear, and you notice that when it appears here is when I'm near the margin. So that is where we want to have our image at. In step 7, it tells us that we want to click on the Position button again. So we're going to click on the Position button, and then next we're going to click on Position in top right with square text wrapping. And that is right up here. It's this option right here. So we click on that, and of course now the graphic has been moved to the upper right corner of the page. And of course notice that the text has been moved over to the right as well. Excuse me, that was to the left. We need to make this to the right. And of course that's this option right here. So you'll notice you can play around with the different options to see which one's going to be there. So this is the right option on there. If you'd like it left, you could do it that way, but this shows us the position to the top right with square text wrapping. In step 8, it tells us that we want to click on the Picture Effects button on there, and that's going to be in the Picture Styles group. So here's our Picture Styles, and we want to click on this button right here, which is our Pictures Effects. Then next, it tells us that we want to point to the soft edges, and then it tells us that we want to point to the different styles on here to see a preview of that style that's selected. But we want to choose here the 2.5 point. So when we click on that, notice that the image now has a soft edge to it, to this graphic. And of course the larger the points, the more softer it is, and a little bit further in that it goes. On step 9, it tells us that we want to click on our View tab, and then we want to click on Multiple Pages in the Zoom group, and of course then we can see both pages of our document as is there. Now of course if your document is longer than 2 pages, you need to make sure that you reduce the size of your graphic by dragging the lower left corner of the sizing handle up and to the right on there. So you want to make sure that this does fit in on 2 pages, and this is what it should look like. Then next, go ahead and make sure that you save your changes, and then of course go ahead and you can upload your file to Core Sites on there. Then you can close your document, and then you can exit Word. And that is the final video in the Word 2013 Unit C series. You're ready to complete the assignments at this time period, so be sure that you check Core Sites out to receive those assignments.